Cameroonian authorities in Yaoundé Central region of the country have said that an exemplary society can only be attained in a country of high moral standard. It emerged at the start of an international colloquium that was in Yaoundé Central region of the country today. And also in this newscast, persons plying the Ndokoti stretch of road have complained that movements have become a veritable nightmare, and some Muslim faithfuls here in the economic capital Douala are foreseeing a challenging fasting period as a result of limited finances. You're welcome to join us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. Good evening once again, viewers. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. We begin right away here in the economic capital Douala, where users of the Ndokoti stretch of road have for weeks now been facing difficulties circulating due to the ongoing rehabilitation works on the road, and many say that they are obliged to move for kilometers on foot to get to their various destinations. Senior reporter Chris Toby further paints the picture in the following report.
Trekking is now the forceful sport that people practice once they get to Tunnel Ndokoti, especially those who carry heavy loads. The four ends of the road are blocked because of rehabilitation works currently going on them, and pedestrians must find their way either through heaps of ground or other construction material. Work here has for over 2 weeks now paralyzed traffic, affecting even the rest of the economic capital Douala, as vehicles are obliged to circulate within a limited perimeter, while in addition to trekking, road users have to spend 2 or even 3 times the usual fare. This sacrificed population would have preferred that the repair works be done step by step instead of the whole Tunnel Ndokoti roundabout at once. That causes more harm to them than good. And the nightmare seems very far from ending, for the road users don't even know how soon the rehabilitation works are going to stop, at a time when the company engaged on those works are accusing the rains for battering the city and paralyzing their activities.
Senior reporter Chris Toby there reporting, and a standoff between a driver and a motorbike rider was reported today at Mobi Bonakwamwang in Akwa, here in the city of Douala. This is after the driver accidentally collided with the bike rider as well amid the tight traffic that was occurring, or amid the tight traffic early this morning. For Hansin Chanji tells us more in the following report.
In the early hours of Monday, amid the traffic congestion and under the rain, this taxi driver was not only beaten under an ambush, but had his mouth almost chopped off. Eyewitnesses explain that the 2 occupants of this motorbike, who seemed to be workers going to their job site, pounced on the taxi driver and transformed him into a punching bag. They said that the taxi driver collided with them, so they had to rush and block him. Suddenly, one of them stretched his arm and gave a fist, punching the driver. Other eyewitnesses said the standoff occurred due to traffic. The driver had stopped because of the traffic congestion. One of the boys on the bike pulled over and punched the driver while in the bed, and when he came out, he fell on him. The taxi driver says, I am on the steering. They want me to give them space. I tried giving them a chance. They instead gave me some punches. The 2 occupants of the bike refused commenting. At the time of this report, the taxi driver and bike rider were being interrogated by security forces.
Meantime, Cameroonian authorities are seeking ways to curb the increasing rate of moral decadence in Cameroonian youths. This, amongst other things, is at the center of discussion in an international colloquium on civic education and national integration that opened today in Yaoundé Central region of the country. Roland Akong is a Yaoundé-based correspondent.
These pictures speak of the strong rise in lack of civic responsibility in all segments of society in Cameroon.
Looking at this picture, I can see that in Cameroon we have a very right disorder. I don't know why, just because of maybe the mentality of our population of Cameroonian.
President Biya's country, regrettably, is fast becoming a kingdom of misrule. And his government, arguably, has no appropriate answer to the social concern.
If the government can really help to try to limit the rate of drinking in the country, I think things will be really greater for the country.
Young people drowned in alcohol and tobacco, uncivic behaviors on school campuses, the uncontrolled use of the public space, street brawl, indecent exposure. Moral standards are falling in Cameroon. Who is to blame?
It is very possible that we see youth sailing around the roads. It's not because they really have that anxiety to sail around the road. But now our cry here is that the government should do everything possible in order to create job facilities in order to make those sitting along the way to have.
There is need to devise a new patriotism for the construction of an exemplary Cameroon. But who is to show the good example?
As Muslim faithfuls in Cameroon and the world at large prepare to begin intensive praying and fasting ahead of the feast of the Ramadan, some have cited financial constraints as a major impeding factor. Those are Muslim faithfuls here in the economic capital, Douala. But as for Hansen Chanji tells us in the following report, not all of the Muslim faithfuls here in the city of Douala hold a similar view.
Muslim faithfuls are leaving no stone unturned as the Muslim holy month of Ramadan comes knocking. It is a month of fasting from sunrise to sunset. During this period, the Muslims are combat ready to embrace the 1 month fasting where they eat before sunrise and break the fast with an evening meal. We eat everything like rice, spaghetti, meat, milk, except pork. We get up at 4 a.m. and take our breakfast, and at 6:30 p.m. we eat the evening meal. This year, some Muslim faithfuls say the economic condition in the country will be one of the major obstacles to fasting. They said during fasting, they spend more food, time and money to satisfy family members as well as strangers. In spite of all these challenges, Muslim faithfuls say the month of fasting is a spiritual time, a time to give to the poor, help the sick, and enrich the spiritual life to move closer to God. It is a month that is more important than every other month, a month to sacrifice, pray for peace. The poor, those who do not have, will give them. Our religion says during this period we should give to the poor, and it is also a month that we pray to Allah to bring peace. The month of fasting, therefore, is a strenuous one for Muslim faithfuls as they embark on one of the holiest rituals of the Islamic faith, a ritual with a test of faith, willpower, and personal discipline, with the objective of honoring God called Allah. During this fasting period, there are two phases, a spiritual preparation and a material one. We need to keep things like sugar. We spend much during the month of Ramadan. At the end, when you calculate your expenses, you see that you've spent a lot. Fasting during Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, along with the faith, worship, charitable giving, and pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca.
And in news out of Cameroon, Egypt's interim leader has expressed a sorrow over the deaths of at least 51 people near a barrack in Cairo, and he has so far ordered an investigation into the death. And Mohammed, the Muslim Brotherhood, says its members were fired on as they staged a sit-in for ousted President Mohamed Morsi, and the army on its part said it simply responded to an armed provocation. So far, the Egypt's interim president or leader has urged restraint in the midst of the ongoing unrest. We talk sports football. Activities are said to be going on normally at the Fecafoot's head office in Tinga, Yaoundé Central region of the country. This is coming few days after FIFA placed a provisional ban on the federation over what it termed government's intervention. Roland Akon in the following report tells us more.
At the headquarters of the Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, work is going on normally, despite the suspension last week of Cameroon by FIFA from international football competitions.
Workers are on their daily duties. They are not supposed to stop working. We are still receiving mails. We are still receiving some demands. We have some of the enterprises working with the federation. We are here to know how far things are going. Will they be paid or not? We are still having some prestation to deliver because our local competition are not over. We have not started with the Cup of Cameroon yet. We have to benefit from that period to enable the local competition to move faster since we are out from international football.
Employees at the federation expect things to get back to normal soonest.
We are under expectation, we as employees, because the situation has been so confused for the past weeks, and we hope that things will resume normally.
Another observation at FECAFOOT is the departure of gendarme officers who were stationed there by government for public safety. Their presence at FECAFOOT is one of the aspects FIFA considered as interference. This empty table served as a makeshift office for the half a dozen security officers who were dispatched at FECAFOOT. Safety and security at FECAFOOT is now guaranteed by security guards of the Federation. A committee to work on the text and organize election at the Cameroon Football Federation by March 2014 is yet to be established. Cameroon's suspension by FIFA could be lifted depending on the quality of work done by the committee.
Roland Akong there ending the report, which brings us to the end of this first segment of the news. Up next, we meet our guest. We thank you so much, viewers, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. Good evening to you, Mr. Charles Bakame, and thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Tonight, we are going to be talking about upcoming municipal and legislative elections in the country. So far, the various political parties who take part in the twin elections have less than 8 days to submit their list of candidates going in for both municipal and legislative to the elections governing body, ELECAM. And we have reports of how three factions of the UPC political party have concerted to present a common list to ELECAM. What's your reaction to that?
Yes, first of all, I want to tell you that what Cameroonians ought to know about the UPC. There are two UPC. The first UPC was created in 1948, and the second UPC was created in 1991 to undermine the operation, or let us say, the work of the genuine UPC. So, in this case now, our UPC, which is the heir of the founding fathers, Umniobe, Wanje, Mumie, King Abel, is not going to take part in such elections.
Why are you not going to take part in the
Because we
election?
don't believe in ELECAM. ELECAM is unable to conduct fair and free elections in this country because it's under the supervision of the executive power, so there is no independence. What we are telling about the three factions of the UPC, these are the heir of Kodok. They are struggling to inherit the power of Kodok. Everybody is pretending to be the legal and legitimate heir of Kodok. So this UPC, I told you here, is the pure creation of the regime in order to, let us say, to continue the activity of the CPDM and to impede the genuine UPC to function. The UPC which asks for independence and which is longing for the welfare of Cameroonians, which is not the preoccupation of this regime and those who believe and think like it.
Now you are a supporter of the faithful faction of the UPC political party, and you believe that you are longing for the interests, or the interest of Cameroonians is what you people are fighting for, the faithful faction of the UPC political party. So are you saying, in other words, that Cameroonians should not take part in the upcoming twin elections in Cameroon?
Well, elections or no election, it makes no difference, because the CPDM and the regime control the whole process of elections. The CPDM imparts the seats according to its will. If the CPDM wants, it may give something like 150
Is the problem
seats.
the ruling CPDM, or the problem is elections Cameroon, or both?
All of them are the same. Election of Cameroon is, let us say, under, let us say, the mastership of the regime. The CPDM is the party in power, and so their influence is on the government, on the assembly, and also on ELECAM.
What are you, the faithful faction of the UPC political party, what are you basing your argument on to talk about elections, Cameroon not being able to organize a free and fair elections in the country? What's your argument? What's actually the problem?
Since 2004, we gave proposals to conduct free and fair elections in this country. So, first of all, there must be a two-round elections. Let us say foreigners have to vote. Everybody, let us say, there are 6 points. Anyway, they are known. I have not got them in memory, but they are listed and they are known all over the country. So that if it is not done that way, make sure nothing will be fair. And there will be fraud at any level.
That is contrary to, let us take an example on the just and the senatorial elections in the country, when election observers, both in the national and international scene, after the elections took place, held a meeting in Yaoundé and confirmed that the elections that ended, that was on the April 14, 2013, it actually was highly hitch-free. I shouldn't say 100%, but it was highly hitch-free. So an indication that the biometric registration of voters that came into play that was introduced by the government of Cameroon, do you think that do you think that the biometric registration would not bring any change?
Yes, let us say, well, anyway, if there is anything new, it brings some change, but it is a very little change. So it will not prevent, let us say, the different structures to manipulate the results.
And how would things change in Cameroon if the UPC, the faithful UPC political party, you think that things are not moving well in Cameroon? You think that if elections, Cameroon shouldn't be the one to conduct the registration, or shouldn't be the one to conduct elections in Cameroon, would not guarantee any free and fair elections in the country? How would Cameroonians see the change come true when you keep on not participating in elections in Cameroon, municipal elections in Cameroon, legislative elections in Cameroon? How will we see the change come to pass?
We have proposed an independent National Electoral Commission which may do the job. We proposed it to all those who want to know. And if this independent National Election Commission is put on, well, we are sure that elections will be free and fair. But for the time being, well, there is no possibility of change. If, let us say, there is willingness to, let us say, to bring dialogue in order to, let us say, to give steps to democracy.
The dialogue between who and who?
Between the government, between all Cameroonians.
And because the UPC political and the UPC? Is
Of
that
course,
what you are saying?
UPC and other political
Concretely,
parties.
what kind of dialogue when a meeting held in Yaoundé with the Minister of Territorial Administration and Decentralization calling on all the factions of the UPC political parties to come together and present a common list? So what dialogue do you want?
Yes, the dialogue is that, let us say, our ideologies are completely different. Let us say, well, the calling of the Minister of Territorial Administration and Decentralization is, let us say, an interference in internal affairs of a party.
And what do you
But
mean?
it is because it is, let us say, the prolongation of CPDM, that is, the minister is doing so. Because, you know, he's wanting to guarantee them their support in order to have, let us say, a successor of Kodok to be, let us say, a relay of the CPDM to continue to prevent, let us say, the UPC, the Union UPC to work. This is the goal of it. It is not for the welfare of the Cameroonians.
Is that the main reason why the faithful faction is not taking part in elections of such magnitude in Cameroon, which is to maybe it's very, very historic in a country like ours, the faithful faction of the UPC political party, when you are seeking ways of bringing change in the country, you are seeking ways of bringing into place a democratic nation in Cameroon. Is that a way of maybe bringing about a change, keeping away or staying away from elections in Cameroon?
We are not staying away. We are marginalized by the government. The government.
But you said you are not taking part in upcoming twin elections in Cameroon.
If even we wanted, it would not be possible.
How would
because
that not
they
be possible?
don't recognize our UPC. Because the new UPC took all our, let us say, our texts, all our symbols, to make them theirs. You know, Kodok, let us say, prosecuted us and guaranteed, let us say, the effigies of the party. Let us say, he took them as his own property. And even now, we are on trial because Kodok accused us of using the insigns of the party who is his.
So if the faithful faction of the UPC political party had all the texts with them, the faithful supporters, and that they were, I would recognize, or that they are recognized by the government, you take part in the elections. Is that what you are saying?
Yes, if they recognize us as we are, and let us say proclaim that the new UPC has to take another name, because the UPC existed. The laws, the laws of freedom of 1990 prescribe that all political parties having a legal status may continue their activities. This was the case of the UPC. The UPC is a legal party since February 1960. The ban, let us say, done by the French government on the 13th of July, 1955, was dropped on February 1960. Since then, UPC is a legal party. So there is no any text, let us say, giving out the dissolution or, let us say, the prohibition of the UPC. So we had a legal status, but by confusion, the people who wanted to please the government and also with the facilities given by the government created another UPC. Well, if, for instance, they recognize us, and this Kodok and his heirs take another name using the not the UPC, the dialogue is possible, but we are completely marginalized.
Okay,
If you give candidates, they will not accept them.
You feel marginalized, you feel that you are not accepted by the regime in place, or that
yes,
you want to be recognized, the faithful faction of the UPC, you want recognition.
Yes, let us say legitimate recognition, because we have a legal status. It's not, it is, let us say, we need to be taken into consideration like a legal political party which may treat directly with the government. If the heir of conduct want, they may change their name, because this is our name they are using. Our text of 1952, they presented upon their creation.
So now, what is the faithful faction of the UPC? What are you telling your militants? That they shouldn't go for the elections? What are you going to tell your militants
Well, we
ahead
tell
of the
our
30th
militants
of September elections?
Yes, we tell our militants that as citizens, if they feel that their vote will count, let them go and vote. But if they feel that their vote is useless, they have to take their responsibilities.
But you remain firm on your stance, not taking part in the elections.
Of course,
because you feel that you are not recognized.
Whether we wanted or not, they wouldn't be accepted. But if
okay, it means the faithful faction really wants to participate, but the government is not accepting.
Yeah, well, with let us say standing from good principles to participate in our recognition, we will take part. But for the time being, there is no willingness of the government to see us participate in, let us say, the political scene.
So should the government recognize you, probably you'll go in for the elections, the faithful faction?
Yes, yes, and with, let us say, with improving the conditions which are being used now.
Improving what conditions?
The conditions of elections with, let us say, an independent electoral body.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles Wakeme, for joining us tonight on Talking Point, and we hope to have you some other time again.
Yes, I'm always pleased to discuss these important matters with you.
Thank you.
The people of Cameroon are aware that we are not giving disorder, but we are proposing positive things for this country to be better.
Thank you so much, Mr. Charles. And to you viewers, we thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. Join Etienne Pascal Azege at exactly 8 p.m. for the French version of the news. Meantime, have a wonderful stay in the company of our programs. Good evening once again.